You know what I think? In the Krishna is like when you put your hand in the middle of your first, you pray. All the people.
Yes, sir.
First come, first come, first serve.
First serving.
This is when you know how to play, is when you ask the people.
You can just point that over there.
It's too much fun.
Yeah. Not for me.
Still. You hear me? See, listen to me. I'm scared.
Srimad is divine grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai Gaur Premanandi. All glory is to the assembled Gurus. All glory is to the assembled Gurus. All glory is to the assembled Gurus. All glory is to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 O my Lord, Sri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by Srila Prabhupada, Canto 4, Chapter 29, today's text 45. Shabda Brahmani Nishpane
Yushpare.
Anta Uruvistare.
Santa Urvishare.
Mantralinga Vivachchinnam.
Mantra.
Bhajanto Naviduparam.
Param.
Shabda Brahmani Dushpare. Charanta Uruvistare. Mantralinga Vivachchinnam. Bhajanto Naviduparam. Shabda Brahmani Dushpare. Charanta Uruvistare. Mantralinga Vyavachchinnam. Bhajanto Naviduparam. Chant.
Charanta Urvistare. Ajanto Naviduparam.
Shabda Brahmani Dushpare. Charanta Uru Vishtare. Linga Vyavachchinam. Bhajanto Naviduparam. Shabda Brahmani Dushpare. Charanta Uru Vishtare. Manchalinga Vyavachchinam. Bhajanto Naviduparam. Shabda Brahmani Dushpare. Charanta Uru Vishtare. Manchalinga Vyavachchinam. Bhajanto Naviduparam.
Word for word. Shabda Brahmani. In the Vedic literature. Dushpare. Unlimited. Charantaha. Being engaged. Uru. Greatly. Vistare. Expansive. Mantra. Of Vedic hymns. Lingai. By the symptoms. Yavachchinnam. Partially powerful, the demigods. Bhajantaha. Worshipping. Naviduhu. They do not know. Param. The Supreme. Translation: despite the cultivation of Vedic knowledge, which is unlimited, and the worship of different demigods by the symptoms of Vedic mantras, demigod worship does not help one to understand the supreme powerful personality of Godhead. Please repeat: despite the cultivation of Vedic knowledge, which is unlimited, and the worship of different demigods, by the symptoms of Vedic mantras, demigod worship does not help one to understand the supreme powerful personality of Godhead. Srila Prabhupada's purport, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 7:20, Kamaistaistair hrittagyana prapadyante nyadevata tam nilamastaya prakritya niyataksvayam. Quote, those whose minds are distorted by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures, unquote. Most people are interested in worshiping demigods to acquire powers. Each demigod has a particular power. For instance, the demigod Indra, the king of heaven, has power to shower rain on the surface of the globe to give sufficient vegetation to the earth. This demigod is described in the Vedas. Vajrahastak Purandaraha. Indra rules the water supply with a thunderbolt in his hand. The thunderbolt itself is controlled by Indra. Similarly, other demigods, Agni, Varun, Chandra, Surya, have particular powers. All these demigods are worshipped in the Vedic hymns through a symbolic weapon. Therefore, it is said here, Mantralinga Rivachchinnam. By such worship, karmis may obtain the benediction of material opulence in the form of animals, riches, beautiful wives, many followers, and so on. By such material opulence, however, one cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master is kindly opening my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. So as we heard yesterday, Narada Muni is now, he's attacking actually King Barhishat's ritualistic practices as harmful to pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is the only way to know the Lord. Yeah, if you're just doing karma kanda stuff, that's not the way. You're not pleasing the Lord. You're still making yourself the center. Just recently, my daughter's mother, my former wife, she said, Suresvara, I just said to Chandra something I never said before. Chandra, how can I have a relationship with you when it's all about Chandra? And that's no one likes a selfish person, or no one likes somebody who's always trying to make themselves the center of the conversation. So that's how we are when we're just trying to have fun in the material world. We're just making ourselves the center, more or less. Now, in today's verse, Narada Muni, what's he condemning? He's directly condemning King Barhishat's demigod worship. And you notice, right, in the purport, Prabhupada starts the purport by going right to the Gita, famous verse condemning demigod worship. But it's not just that verse. Let's look at the whole. There's 4 verses there, and it's all just showing the futility of demigod worship. I'll just read the verses, not the purports. So again, translation to the 720 was those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires, intelligence, surrender unto demigods, and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. Yeah. So some might worship this, as Prabhupada said in the purport, the different devas, and they all have special powers. There's a whole verse in the Bhagavatam about you want this, you worship. If you want health, you worship the sun, and all these different devas, and Indra. That's what remember. That's what the cowherd men were thinking. Oh, we have to worship Indra because he's the one that sends us the rain. So Krishna showed them otherwise in the Govardhan Leela. Okay, and then in the next verse, 721, Krishna says, I am in everyone's heart as a super soul. As soon as one desires to worship some demigod, I make his faith steady so that he can devote himself to that particular deity. So it's actually Krishna in the heart who's giving us the determination to worship the demigods. But it gets better. Listen to this. Endowed with such a faith, he endeavors to worship a particular demigod and obtains his desires. But in actuality, these benefits are bestowed by me alone. So it's demigods can't do anything unless Krishna gives them permission. He's the head god, Godhead. And then finally in 23, again, Krishna's, well, he's doing what Narada Muni is doing today, belittling the intelligence of demigod worshippers. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet. Yeah, everything's temporary, limited in the realm of karma. Okay, now, from those Gita verses, I'd like to look at Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto. Oh, that's the one. Okay. Teachings of Lord Kapila, especially. In 332, texts 1 and 2, Lord Kapila offers an even stronger condemnation of demigod worship in texts 1 and 2. And it's, you can guess by the chapter. The chapter is called Entanglement and Fruitive Activities, right? Which is exactly Barhishat's and our predicament. At least we know the way out by Prabhupada's mercy. So in text 1, 332:1, Lord Kapila says, the personality of God had said, the person who lives in the center of household life derives material benefits by performing religious rituals, and thereby he fulfills his desire for economic development and sense gratification. Again and again, he acts the same way. And the purport Prabhupada distinguishes between Grihamedi and Grihastha. So in Krishna consciousness, we don't just pursue household life for material benefits, but for spiritual advancement. And then in text 2, and I'm going to look at the purport to text 2. It's quite, both the verse and in Prabhupada's purport, strong condemnation of demigod worship. So Lord Kapila says in the translation, such persons, materialistic householders, are ever bereft of devotional service due to being too attached to sense gratification, and therefore, although they perform various kinds of sacrifices and take great vows to satisfy the demigods and forefathers, they are not interested in Krishna consciousness, devotional service. So they're very staunch when it comes to demigod worship and fulfilling material desires. They're not interested in the only thing really worth pursuing, being determined to do. And then in the purport, Prabhupada, right? What does he do? He refers back to the same purport here. Kamaistai. In Bhagavad Gita 7:20, it is said that persons who worship demigods have lost their intelligence. Kamaistai rita. And then he says, they are much attracted to sense gratification, and therefore they worship the demigods. It is, of course, recommended, now listen to this, it is, of course, recommended in the Vedic scriptures that if one wants money, health, or education, so if you want money, who do you worship? Ganapati or Kuvera, there's different devas. Health? Sun. We have Surya Namaskar, right? Or education? Saraswati. Then he should worship the various demigods. A materialistic person has manifold demands, many demands. I got to have it all, right? I got to have good health. I got to be rich. I got to have the right wife, and thus there are manifold demigods to satisfy his senses. The Grihamades, who want to continue a prosperous materialistic way of life, generally worship the demigods or the forefathers by offering pinda, or respectful oblations. Such persons are bereft of Krishna consciousness and are not interested in devotional service to the Lord. This kind of so-called, there's the key word there, this kind of so-called pious and religious man is the result of impersonalism. The impersonalists maintain that the supreme absolute truth has no form and that one can imagine any form he likes for his benefit and worship that way. Call it Panchopasana, different devas to worship. But ultimately, behind the devas, they're just an impersonal truth. Therefore, the Grihamades or materialistic men say that they can worship any form of a demigod as worship of the Supreme Lord. Especially amongst the Hindus. Prabhupada is taking a swipe at his. Many people in India call themselves Hindus. Especially amongst the Hindus, those who are meat eaters prefer to worship goddess Kali because it is prescribed that one can sacrifice a goat before that goddess. They maintain that whether one worships the goddess Kali or the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu or any demigod, the destination is the same. Not. Right? If you buy a ticket for one place, you're not going to go to another place. This is first-class rascaldom. And such people are misled. But they prefer this philosophy. What suits their desires, right? Philosophy that matches their desires. Bhagavad Gita does not accept such rascaldom, and it is clearly stated that such methods are meant for persons who have lost their intelligence. The same judgment is confirmed here, and the word kama mudha. That's right in the verse. Kama mudha. How does Prabhupada render that? Infatuated by lust. Kama mudha. Infatuated. Meaning one who has lost his sense or is infatuated by the lust of attraction for sense gratification is used. Kama mudhas are bereft of Krishna consciousness and devotional service and are infatuated by a strong desire for sense gratification. The worshippers of demigods are condemned both in Bhagavad Gita and in Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, now, what I'd like to do now is, interestingly, in the 11th canto, so the Gita is, Krishna singing the Gita to Arjuna. In the 11th canto, in Krishna's, his Uddhava Gita, he's singing to Uddhava, he's expressing to Uddhava things in a more expansive, a more expressive way. More, what is it? How do I say it? Expressive and contemplative. I mean, there isn't that much time on a battlefield. He's giving Arjuna the ABCs. But in the Uddhava Gita, there's more time and he really gets into philosophical topics, the same topics in a deeper way. Now in the Uddhava Gita, this is amazing. I wasn't aware of this. Krishna tells Uddhava how to worship the demigods. There's a way to do it and be Krishna conscious. And not just the demigods, but all living beings. Okay, let's take a look at this, because it's an 11, 43 through 45. It's one of these multi-part verses. And both the verse and in the purport by Prabhupada's servants, BBT servants. All right. Come on. 11. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so this three-part verse, or three verses together. The translation is, Krista says, "My dear Uddhava, one should worship me within the sun by chanting selected Vedic mantras and by performing worship and offering obeisances." So there's a way to worship the sun that's actually Krishna conscious. One should worship me within the sun by chanting selected Vedic mantras and by performing worship and offering obeisances. And then he says, one may worship me within fire, so Agni, by offering oblations of ghee, and one may worship me among the Brahmanas by respectfully receiving them as guests. So you can receive the Brahmanas as guests, and that's another way to worship him. Even when uninvited, Atiti Bhagavan, right? The uninvited guest is as good as Bhagavan. Atiti Bhagavan. I can be worshipped within the cows by offerings of grass and other suitable grains and paraphernalia for the pleasure and health of the cows. And when one may worship me within the Vaishnavas by offering loving friendship to them. So when we befriend the devotees, Krishna's pleased. That's a way of honoring Krishna because he likes us to do that. Before I forget, Chris, you do have mail. Okay. One may worship me within the Vaishnavas by offering loving friendship to them and honoring them in all respects. Through steady meditation, I am worshipped within the inner space of the heart. That's where Krishna lives, right? Again, through steady meditation, I am worshipped within the inner space of the heart. And within the air, I can be worshipped by knowledge that prana, the life air, is the chief among elements. Krishna says that in the Gita. I am worshipped within water. So people, they might want to appease Varun, but Krishna says there's a way to do it properly that's Krishna conscious. I am worshipped within my water by offerings of water itself, along with other elements such as flowers and tulsi leaves. And one may worship me within the earth by proper application of confidential seed mantras. One may worship me within the individual living entity by offering food and other enjoyable substances. And one may worship me within all living entities by seeing the super soul within all of them, thus maintaining equal vision. Who knows the Gita verse from the 5th chapter? Equal vision verse. This is, Krishna says the same thing in the Gita. 5:18, first word, and then you'll know it. Vidya.
That's on version.
Yeah, okay, that's the last two little words. You know it? Oh, she did so good on her. You did very good. You got my email? Okay. Yeah, on her initiation test papers. Vidya Vanaya Sampanne, a humble sage by virtue of true knowledge. Brahmane Gavihastini sees with equal vision, a learned and gentle Brahman. Brahmane Gavi, cow. Hasti, elephant. Hastini Shunichaya Vashvapakecha, a dog and a dog eater. Why? And not the same materially, but then what do you see in the Gita painting, right? You see the Lord in the heart is in the heart of all of them. Okay. Yes. Okay, so here's the purport by Prabhupada's BBT servants. Srinananda Maharaj Dravida and the late great Gopi Paranadhana Prabhu Purport. Significantly, the Lord emphasizes in these three verses that one should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is expanded within all living beings. It is not recommended that one accept any material or spiritual object other than the Lord as supreme. By maintaining steady consciousness of the Lord in his all-pervading feature, one can remain in a worshipful mood 24 hours a day. So Krishna is within everything, but that doesn't mean everything is Krishna. That's the Achintya Bheda philosophy. Everything's coming from Krishna. That doesn't mean I worship this is Krishna, but it is Krishna's energy. And if I offer respects to that energy, remembering him, that's Krishna conscious. Okay. Thus, one will naturally try to engage all material and spiritual elements in the loving service of Lord Krishna. If because of ignorance one forgets the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one may become inclined to worship powerful material phenomena, independent of the Supreme Lord, as Barishat was doing. Or one may foolishly consider oneself to be the Supreme. One should remain sane and accept the worshipable presence of the Supreme Lord within everything. So, I would like to go from that interesting 11th canto purport to, let's see, where did I go? I went to the Krishna book. Yes. So, to put a fine point, as the saying goes, on the futility of worshiping demigods, let's look at Srila Prabhupada's summary of Canto 10, Chapter 87. Anybody know the chapter? Prayers by the Personified Vedas. Very long chapter. In the Krishna book. And it's right at the end when the Personified Vedas are just summing things up, and Prabhupada, he does it. He's, of course, this the Krishna book, so he's summarizing their prayers. Okay, so now we're going to look at this section. Now this is a mind blower, or to put a fine point, as I said, because, I mean, we can't know Krishna by worshiping the demigods. The demigods don't even know Krishna perfectly, which is what I think Lord Brahma said maybe in the verse Kirtaneshwar. You did that yesterday, huh? Is that what Brahma said? Yes. Yeah. Oh no, it was Narada Muni, but it was Narada Muni saying, look, we don't even know Krishna perfectly. Now here's the ultimate of not knowing Krishna perfectly. Okay. And this is in quotes. So this is right from the verses in 1087. Quote, this is the Personified Vedas. Dear Lord, although Lord Brahma, the predominating deity of the highest planet, Brahmaloka, and King Indra, the predominating demigod of the heavenly planets, as well as the predominating deities of such planets as the sun and the moon, are all very confidential directors of this material world. They have very little knowledge about you. Whoa. Then, what can ordinary human beings, and mental speculators know of you? It is not possible for anyone to enumerate the unlimited transcendental qualities of your Lordship. No one, not even the mental speculators and the demigods in higher planetary systems, is actually able to estimate the length and breadth of your form and characteristics. We think that even your Lordship, listen to this, here's where it starts to get really wild. We think, this is the Personified Vedas, we think that even your Lordship does not have complete knowledge of your own transcendental qualities. The reason is that you are unlimited. although it is not befitting to say that you do not know yourself, it is practical to understand that because you have unlimited qualities and energies, and because your knowledge is also unlimited, there is unlimited competition between your knowledge and your expansion of energies. So then that's the end of the quote that from the 10th canto. And then Prabhupada, he gives this, he's weaving into his summary study, his own observation of what the personified Vedas meant by that even Krishna doesn't know himself. And then Prabhupada says, the idea is that because God and his knowledge are both unlimited, as soon as God is cognizant, as soon as he's aware of some of his energies, he perceives that he has still more energies. Krishna is always increasing, inconceivably. In this way, both his energies and his knowledge increase. Because both of them are unlimited, there is no end to the energies and no end to the knowledge with which to understand the energies. God is undoubtedly omniscient, but the personified Vedas say that even God himself does not know the full extent of his energies. Whoa! This does not, and then Prabhupada quickly gives a caveat here. This does not mean that God is not omniscient. Doesn't mean he doesn't know everything. When an actual fact is unknown to a certain person, this is called ignorance. When we don't know something, that's called ignorance or lack of knowledge. This is not applicable to God, however, because he knows himself perfectly, but still in a transcendental way. As his energies and activities increase, he also increases his knowledge to understand them. Both are increasing unlimitedly, and there is no end to it. In that sense, it can be said that even God himself does not know the limit of his energies and qualities, which is why I think I mentioned this in the previous class, how when I was a teenager, I would lie in my bed on my back and then just start to try to imagine what infinity was. And then it would scare me. It's like you said, you got scared by hell, dream of hell. So I would get scared by trying to imagine where we were. What's going on here? How can what is existence? It was like an existential crisis I was having. And then I would try to imagine what was beyond the universe. But then, wait a minute, what's beyond the beyond the beyond the? And it was just like, my mind just started to shudder and I couldn't. So it's such a great relief we'll leave this to Krishna, what infinity is and because even he there's a competition between Krishna's knowledge and his being. He keeps expanding, and as soon as he expands, his knowledge of himself expands. So it's a great relief to know that you're not God and you don't have to be God and try to figure everything else out. That's called mental speculation. Okay, so if even Krishna himself does not know the limit of his glories, what to speak of the demigods? So, yeah, Narada Muni is he's just condemning Barhishad's demigod worship because it keeps him in this limited sphere of karma, limited dimension of karma, where you're just trying to enjoy some piece of the material energy. And what does it get us? Janma mrityu jara vyadi. Yeah. Whereas when we surrender to Krishna, then we just go to Krishna. And then we can ask him there, where are we? Oh, don't worry about it, just have fun. Pass the lunch. And if you can beat me too, and if you can beat me in a game, I'll carry you on my shoulder. It's much more fun. Okay, we have a question from Gaurasundar Prabhu.
It's very hard for me to understand and to accept. Maybe because I've said that to understand even Krishna don't know his limit, it's unlimited growing. It's very hard for me to understand that. So, because he's God himself, he know everything about everyone and himself too. So how can we
Yeah.
that is very hard for me to admit that.
All right. Well, let me just read that little paragraph again, where Prabhupada addresses that.
Yeah.
Okay. So when the personified Vedas are talking about you don't even know the limit of your energies.
Yeah.
Prabhupada says the idea is that because God and His knowledge are both unlimited, as soon as God is cognizant, as He's aware of some of His energies, He perceives that He has still more energies because Krishna is always increasing. Inconceivably, what is that? How can the infinite increase?
Okay, himself and his energy are the same, so it's unlimited. So
Yeah, unlimited.
Okay.
In this way, both His energies and His knowledge increase. Because both of them are unlimited, there is no end to the energies and no end to the knowledge with which to understand the energies. God is undoubtedly omniscient, like you said, He knows everything. But the personified Vedas say that even God Himself does not know the full extent of His energies. I'll just read this, and then Prophet says, this does not mean that God is not omniscient. When an actual fact is unknown to a certain person, like us, this is called ignorance. Well, we don't know something, we just don't know.
We can apply that to Krishna, the ignorance.
No,
It's not the ignorance.
Or lack of knowledge. And then Prabhupada says, this, he just addresses what you just said. This is not applicable to God, however, because He knows Himself perfectly. But still, as His energies and activities increase, He also increases His knowledge to understand them. Both are increasing unlimitedly, and there is no end to it. God and His energies are increasing. In that sense, it can be said that even God Himself does not know the limit of His energies and qualities, because there is no limit.
Okay. Yes, no limit. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not like us being ignorant. Okay.
I was thinking about that when someone asked Prabhupada, they said, Prabhupada, can Krishna make a object too heavy to lift? And Prabhupada said, he can make an object too heavy to lift and then he can lift it.
Right.
So in that way, Krishna can do it. He doesn't know his glories, then he knows them and they expand more and he has to he has to learn them more. So Krishna, there's that pastime where Krishna is bewildered by his own form. He sees his own form in the water and he becomes bewildered by it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's Krishna's daily activity. I think.
What's my question is, I was just commenting on his question, but my question is where do we draw the line between, like fruitive activities and like pure devotional service? Because we see that, if every devotee just completely gave up everything and engaged 100% in devotional service, then that's something, very special. But so many times devotees are also, working through the process, varnashram, ashrams, marriage, so many different things. So where do we draw the line? How does it differ for devotees versus just these karma kandi people or just karma yoga people?
Yeah. I always like to answer that question when I think of the principle of yukta vairagya. Is that a similar? In other words, we follow Rupa Goswami, and he says when you engage something in Krishna's service, that's not material. Your car is a spiritual car if it's engaged in Krishna's service. But then sometimes when we use these things in Krishna's service, we can easily become enamored of them and use them in ways like my laptop. I can use my laptop, to log on to Dandavats, or I can use my laptop to watch some, something mundane. So if by engaging in Krishna's service in a certain way, in the name of engaging Krishna's service, we actually forget Krishna and just get absorbed in his energy to try to enjoy his energies. I think that's the line.
The question goes, I mean, if contrary to all whatever you do for me, and he talks about that as not pure devotional service.
Talks about as karma yoga.
Karma yoga. So in the sense that, you know, that we're attached to this particular type of work. So if I'm attached to, you know, whatever work I do, whatever I want to do, I'm attached to that, not Krishna. I'll give the fruit to Krishna.
Yeah. So that's good. It's
not
yoga.
But that's not exactly pure devotional.
It's not pure devotional service. Therefore, there's a progression there, and that's why you end up with 934. Because you quoted 927. And then finally, Krishna ends up with Manmana. That's where, and Krishna does this a lot in the Gita. He'll start with a certain level, and then he'll, especially in the second chapter, he does that. And then he goes to a higher level. And then finally, the whole Gita ends up with, give up all these things and just surrender unto me, all these different dharmas.
Okay, so then follow up to that is that I was hearing, I mentioned this yesterday in my class, and it was from Borjan, surrender unto me. Then in that verse, you know, Krishna says, you'll be forced to act. Even if you choose not to fight, you'll be forced to act due to your. So then the question Vishwanath brings up is that if Arjuna is going to fight anyways, he was going to fight the whole time. Why is Krishna telling him to fight? Because it says that by your nature you're going to fight, and so then Krishna says, then I'll laugh at you because you have this messed up consciousness while you're fighting. So the whole Bhagavad Gita is just to make Arjuna have the right consciousness when he fights. So, I mean, that kind of gives like a kind of a sense of like we're going to act according to our nature either way. So how do we? So if my nature is to be like, you know, do something in Maya, you know, sometimes we see this in nature. Yeah. How do we understand that?
Because we have to engage that nature. That's therefore in the 18th chapter again, going to the 18th chapter. There's 45 and 46, where. What did it say? Hey, good. After listing all the qualities of, you know, the different varnas, then Krishna says, by following his qualities of work. Yeah, you got to follow your nature. Every man can become perfect. How do you do that? Now, please hear from me how this can be done. By worship of the Lord. So we don't deny our nature, we just use our nature to glorify Krishna. So whether you're a musician or artist, cook, or
the question becomes, how do we know?
Well, that's a good question, and you can, if you look at Bhagavatam 4:836. Anybody have it on their phone?
I can get it.
This is really good. 4:836.
Good questions.
Huh?
Said the good questions.
Good questions, yeah. Yeah, that's because we're pursuing a line, and it's going deeper on
That's
it.
the advantage of getting all together. I give up.
You give up? Do you surrender?
Yeah,
Your body has diminishing returns, and your mind. 4:836.
4:836.
Yeah.
My dear Lord, I am very impudent for not accepting your instructions. But this is not my fault. It is due to my having been born in a Kshatriya family. My stepmother Suruchi has pierced my heart with her harsh words. Therefore, your valuable instructions does not stand in my heart.
Okay, let me read the purport. It's not the whole purport, but there's a certain part of the purport. Yes. All right. So let's go to. Now, when Dhruva said that you know your instructions are very good, was what did Narada Muni say? He said, look, you're a little boy, go back home to your mother, and you know when the time is right, when you're older, you can understand more. Then come back. Dhruva Maharaj, Prabhupada says in the purport, indirectly informed the great sage Narada that there are 4 kinds of human spirit. In other words, Narada's instructions are fit for a nice little Brahmin boy. patting him on the head. Go back to your mommy. But Dhruva, even at the age of 5, was like, he had Kshatriya blood and he'd been insulted and he was, bring it on, whatever you want to say, Narada. That there are 4 kinds of human spirit: the Brahminical spirit, the Kshatriya spirit, the Vaishya spirit, and the Shudra spirit. This is one of only 2 places I've ever encountered in Prabhupada's whole Vani where he's using spirit not to mean soul, but to mean one's psychophysical nature. It's really extraordinary. And the Shudra spirit, the spirit of one caste, right? One kind of mentality, is not applicable to the members of another. The philosophical spirit enunciated by Narada Muni might have been suitable for a Brahmana spirit, but it was not suitable for a Kshatriya. Dhruva frankly admitted that he was lacking in Brahminical humility and was therefore unable to accept the philosophy of Narada Muni. And then Prabhupada says this: the statements of Dhruva Maharaj indicate that unless a child is trained according to his tendency, his spirit, his nature, in other words, it's up to the parents, it's up to the mentors, the gurus, ultimately. Let's see, tendency. Unless a child is trained according to his tendency, there is no possibility of his developing his particular spirit. So it's a kind of violence when somebody has a Kshatriya nature to try to train him as a Brahmin or as a Vaishya or vice versa, You got to train them according to their spirit. It was the duty of the spiritual master or teacher to observe the psychological movement of a particular boy or girl and thus train him in a particular occupational duty. Dhruva Maharaj, having already been trained in the Kshatriya spirit, would not accept the Brahminical philosophy. Let's see, there's more down.
Didn't Prabhupada say that was his regret that he didn't develop Varnashram?
Yeah, I worked this purport into one of the Varnashram lessons. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it teaches for us that we're born in a molecular world and we're not trained in any of our spirits, so
We didn't go to the Gurukul either. We went to the Asura
we're going to be
Kul.
Asura Kula, so then we're just, I have an Asura nature. I was trained to be an Asura, so. No,
But that's the mercy of the pure devotee with the power. You know that verse 2:418? Kiratahudandra palinda pulkasha. That all these people, and even members of the Kasa races, that means Mongolians, they can be, what does it say? 2:418. Get that on your, I forget the translation. You got it, Jamuna? You beat him? 2:418. Kiratahu nandra palinda pulkusha abhira shumbaya vanakasadaya yen ye chapapa vyad apashrayashraya shrudyanti.
Translation. Kirta, Una, Andara, Pulinda, Pulaksha, Abhira, Shumba, Yavana members of the Kasha races, and even others addicted to sinful acts can be purified by taking shelter of the devotees of the Lord due to his being the supreme power. I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto him.
Due to his being the supreme, but he can change through the pure devotee. We can be changed because originally we are Krishna conscious.
They take all these children in different countries and put them in one classroom and teach them the same thing, and they're all different.
Yeah. Well, especially when they reach the age, I think Prabhupada said 10. That's when you can start sending them to the Varnashram college. Yes, I think Chris had a comment. Did you? I saw your hand raised.
Oh, yeah, it was before we were talking about Krishna's unlimited expansion.
Oh, okay.
And it reminds me, I've heard that the Bhagavatam is always in progress, like it's like we're adding to it as we have this discussion. So if you wanted to define the Bhagavatam, you'd have to keep catching up to the latest edition, including you trying to catch up to the latest edition. But
Yeah, there were.
that was for Gaurasundar, and he's gone, so.
On higher cantos, or the higher planets, is more cantos. We just have 12. Yes, Joan of Arc. Why don't you understand that Joan of Arc's whole life is Srimad Bhagavatam? He told the devotees in Seattle. Okay, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you. Nice.